For my coming of age visual essay, I have chosen the goth teen trope. The reason I chose this trope is because when most people think of the goth teen, they think of dark hair, dark makeup, and dark clothes, which, yes, in most instances that is true, but not every instance, as I have found from looking at all these films for this project. Also, looking at all these films, I saw a pattern that happens throughout every single film. That pattern is at the beginning of the film, there's some sort of family problem or traumatic experience that happens at a young age. And throughout most of the film is the rebellion period or the lashing out period from whatever happened at the beginning of the film. And then by the end of the film, they either learn their lesson and they have a good turnout, or they have a tragic ending. So now let's get into the films. The first film I want to look at is The Breakfast Club from 1985, and the character I want to look at is Allison Reynolds. At the beginning of the film, it's expressed that her parents ignore her at home, and this inevitably leads to her considering running away, stealing to survive, and covering her face. Throughout this period, you can definitely see the anger and sad emotion throughout most of the film on her face. But by the end of the film, she goes through a makeover and she learns that she doesn't have to cover her face and hide, and she learns to open up, and you can definitely see the change in emotion on her face and her appearance. The second film that I want to look at is The Craft from 1996. And the first character I want to look at is Nancy. Nancy has a really bad home life with her mom being abused and she's broke and many other things. So then Nancy takes on witchcraft to try to feel more powerful and change these problems that she has in her life. And you can definitely see in her facial expressions throughout most of the film that she is very angry and has a lot of sad emotions, but she suppresses them throughout the whole film. By the end of the film, Nancy turns evil from these powers that she has possessed, and she's put into an asylum. This next character I want to talk about is Sarah. Sarah's mother died, giving birth to her, and at the very beginning of the film, she has to move to a new school, high school. And Sarah takes on witchcraft to try to fit in with these girls because she doesn't feel like she fits in anywhere. And you can definitely see on Sarah's face that she almost has like a neutral emotion. She doesn't really look sad, but she doesn't really look happy. And there's definitely periods throughout the film that she has happy emotions and sad emotions, but most of the film it's like a neutral emotions. The third character I want to look at is Bonnie. And Bonnie has troubles with her body because she has burns all over her body. And so Bonnie takes on witchcraft to try to heal her scars. And you can see that in the beginning of the film, Bonnie has this like sad sort of neutral kind of emotions. And then as she heals her scars, her emotions completely change. And she has this happy sort of joy look on her face. And then towards the end, she turns evil. And she has this like evil, menacing look on her face. And she ends up losing her powers and learning her lesson from what she has done. And the fourth character I want to look at is Rochelle. And Rochelle is bullied at school because she's black and on the swim team. So she takes up witchcraft and she's trying to get revenge with these powers that she has found. And inevitably she turns evil and loses her powers. And throughout the film, she stays pretty happy throughout the film. Even though she's bullied, she doesn't really show her emotions throughout the film. The third film I want to look at is The Virgin Suicides from 1999. This is a movie that follows five sisters that are in a troubled house where their parents really want to involve themselves, but they don't really know their kids and know how to love them. So to start off, I want to talk about Cecilia. And at the beginning of the film, you can see that Cecilia has a lot of like sad emotions. She's very mopey when she walks around, a lot of like muted colors in her outfits. And inevitably, she tries to commit suicide. And her parents rescue her and take her to the doctor, and they tell her that she needs outside experience. And so they throw a party, which inevitably leads to her being sad in the middle of all these people while they're having fun. And she ends up going upstairs and jumping out of the window and committing suicide. The second character I want to talk about is Lux. Lux is the sister that kind of lashed out. Compared to all the other sisters, she slept with a lot of boys behind closed doors and snuck out and hooked up with them on the roof. And Lux is one of the only sisters that really showed this positive emotion throughout the film. And by the end of the film, she ends up giving herself carbon monoxide poisoning. The third sister I want to talk about is Bonnie. And Bonnie has that similar neutral emotion throughout the film. She's not really happy, nor is she really sad. And she takes it very hard when her parents take her out of school. And she's like stuck with her emotions and not being in contact with the outside world, which inevitably leads to her hanging herself at the end of the film. And the fourth sister I want to talk about is Therese. And Therese is also suppressed from the outside world, just like all the other sisters, because her parents takes her out of school and she's not allowed to have that outside contact with friends or even the sun. They're locked inside the house. And you can definitely see in her emotions that she holds in a lot of her emotions, but she's definitely very much so sad. And by the end of the film, she overdoses on sleeping pills purposefully. And the fifth sister I want to talk about is Mary. And Mary, like all the other sisters, is suppressed from the outside world. And the only, outside that she gets is going to get the magazines that they order from the mailbox. And she's pretty neutral when it comes to her emotions along with Bonnie. But by the end of the film, just like all the other sisters, she ends up putting her head in a gas oven and taking her own life. So this film would be a good example of that tragic ending I was talking about. The fourth film I want to look at is Mean Girls from 2004. And the character I want to look at is Janice. Janice can be seen as like that typical goth girl in high school that has the dark hair, the dark makeup, and the dark clothes. But what's different about her is she does talk to other people even though people don't come up and talk to her. And her backstory is Regina and her were friends when they were younger, and Regina spread rumors about her being a lesbian, which caused her to drop out of school. And in the future, she comes back to school, but she's different. She's changed her clothes, her style, and she's not friends with anybody that she used to be friends with. And she plans on getting revenge on Regina. But by the end of the film, she learns her lesson and she has a complete change in emotion. She goes from this like dark, evil, upsetting emotion because she's traumatized by what happened to her to her being happy and a lot more loving by the end of the film. And the fifth film I want to look at is Mary Shelley from 2017. And the character I want to look at is Mary Shelley. At the beginning of the film, it's told that her mother died when she was at a young age. And so she currently lives with her father, her stepmom, and her stepsister. She has a really good relationship with her stepsister. And her stepmom is just really bad to her. She's really mean. And her stepdad keeps her very confined and limited to what she can do. That doesn't let her express her poetry abilities and that kind of stuff. This leads to her running away with her future husband, and they get pregnant and lose the baby, and you can see that this takes a really hard toll on Mary. She cries a lot. It's a lot of dark colors throughout this whole film. And as time goes on, she learns that this guy that she's with is not who she thought he was. And so they end up breaking it off, and the film goes on for a while, but she ends up writing her own book. She ends up learning how to express herself and writes her own book about this experience that she's went through. And initially, her ex-husband tried to take credit for this book, but then he comes out and says that she's the one that wrote the book, and they make up and they live happily until they die. So overall, all these films, as you can see, they all have a very similar plot line, even though they're all different in their own way. They all have that sort of problem at the beginning, rebellion period, learn a lesson, tragic ending at the very end. And I find that interesting that all of these are so unique, but yet so different at the same time.